Gabby Fayant is the co-CEO and co-founder of the Assembly of Se7en Generations. We are also here with her husband, Josh Lewis, who is a co-CEO of the Assembly of Se7en Generations as well. They are here today to talk with us about the documentary Mamandogokwe that is screening at the Mayfair Theatre this Sunday. Gabby and Josh, thank you both so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having us.
I was wondering if you could start off by telling us about the documentary, letting our listeners know what it's about.
Sure. So this Sunday, we'll be premiering two documentaries. The one that I produced is called Mamandogokwe. Mamandogokwe is an Algonquin word that means beautiful woman. And really, the documentary that I produced is about a young Algonquin woman, Dara Wawade, and her life, her struggles as an Algonquin youth, looking to reconnect with culture and reclaiming traditions. And also, I interviewed an Algonquin historian that goes by the name of Gilbert Whiteduck, and he kind of helps us understand why this Algonquin youth has experienced the things she has. So both kind of go hand in hand. It almost is like a conversation between two people, but they're not actually in the same room. So it's a really great complementary documentary, bringing together that older wisdom and older knowledge with the new next generation coming up.
Gabby, you and your husband, Josh, worked on this documentary together. So I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about both of the roles that the two of you played in creating the documentary.
Yeah, so I produced this documentary. I was also the writer, videographer, editor, really like everything you could think of. But I also got a lot of help from some amazing people in the film industry. I couldn't have done it without my colleague, Howard Atler, who spent hours of time in the editing studio with me and actually helping me learn how to do editing too. And my husband, Josh, made a cameo in the video as well.
Josh, can you tell us a bit about your cameo appearance?
Yeah, I was simply just sipping tea with Dara and Danny, who's also another youth who was in the film. I was kind of there, kind of in the background, helping Gabby throughout the film. So I'm just a big fan of Gabby and all of her work. So very much a big support. And miigwech.
I was wondering if both of you could maybe share with us what message you would like the audience to take home after watching the documentary on Sunday. For
me, it was really important as a guest myself. So I'm Métis from Alberta. My family comes from Fishing Lake Métis settlement. So I'm a guest here on Algonquin territory, even though I'm an Indigenous person. And it was really important for me as a guest to this land to help educate everybody about the land that they live on. And so that's what this documentary for me is doing. It's helping educate people about the Algonquin territory that we live on, how the Algonquin people were moved from this land, and how they were really forcefully assimilated and went through a lot of struggles through colonization. And we always have to remember to honor them and to help share their story about the traditional land.
Josh, I'm curious if there's a message that you would like viewers to go home with.
I think the biggest thing for me is when I was watching when I was kind of in the background watching the film being produced, I saw like the resilience of the young people, and they've all been going through a lot of hard things throughout their lives, but finding connection to culture, finding connection to community, I think it really for any young Indigenous person, it's super important. And that's what I got from this film, is that that's possible. And I see that youth today doing a lot of good stuff. So,
Gabby, you mentioned a colleague of yours, Howard Adler, and he has a documentary that's also screening as well at the Mayfair on Sunday. I was wondering if you could maybe tell us briefly what his documentary is about.
Howard worked really closely with the Inuit throat singing group called Sila. And they also told the story about how they develop their music, how they come together to share their music, and what it's like to get ready for a stage performance, and their collaboration with Rise Ashen. So that's what Howard's film is about. I also want to acknowledge that Howard makes tons of films. Like, he's a veteran filmmaker, editor, everything you can think of. And so check him out. He has so much. He has so much under his belt. And he's also one of the organizers of Asanapka Film Festival every year. So he's a really, really amazing Indigenous person leading the film industry.
I'm curious, other than the film that people can see Sunday, are there any films of his that you suggest people check out?
I saw on social media that he has a film, I think it's called Medicine Man, that was screened at the Imaginative Film Festival. So I saw a little bit of buzz around that. So that might be a film that might be released in the near future. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. So for this screening, it's actually pay what you can, but it's going to a very special place. Can you tell our listeners a bit about where the money's going?
It is pay what you can at the door. There's no reserve seating, so it's first come, first serve. So right now we have about 500 people interested or going on the Facebook event page. It's also being released through NFB avenues as well as CBC. So we're expecting quite a lot of people to come out. So come early, get your spot early. And it's pay what you can at the door because we want it to be accessible, but it's also a way for us to do some fundraising for our youth organization, which is called Assembly of Se7en Generations, or A7G. And so A7G is a youth-led, youth-driven nonprofit organization. We do things like Friday night drop-ins where we all gather. We do things like round dances, elders and youth gatherings, monthly sweats, and many other kind of peer-to-peer support that unfortunately Indigenous youth lack due to gaps in services or funding services.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today. Mamandogokwe will be screening at the Mayfair Theatre this Sunday, and it is pay what you can.